Hi, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Thank you for joining the Power Hour. Localization is more than a language, organized by 3 Degrees Media. Just a bit of housekeeping for those of you who are joining us. You can view this on LinkedIn Live, on IG, and also on Facebook Live. And you can key in your questions that you have through the comment section. We'll be able to see that and we'll be able to share that with the panelists today. A bit of background as to who we are. We are a creative content agency specializing in the B2B space, and we have been working with both multinationals and local companies in co-creating content for industries ranging from semiconductors and servers to chemicals and concrete. One of the things that we do is localized marketing from in-country events to developing region-specific content. And our past work in the last 11 years have shown that localized marketing has been incredibly effective for engagement and lead generation as opposed to something generic. So we wanted to hear from the in-country marketers themselves on what works in their respective markets. And we've identified some of the 3 high-growth markets in Asia: China, India, and Indonesia. So I'm honored today to be in the company of marketers that I fully respect and look up to. And they'll be with me for the next hour. We have Melody Fu, the Growth Marketing Director for Akamai Greater China Region; Ronak Chef, Chief Marketing Officer for 361 from India; and also Daniel Agus Prasetyo, Head of PR and Corp Comms for Cultiva Indonesia. Thank you and welcome, everyone. If I
Thank you,
can just
Titin.
quickly, thank you. If I can just go quickly around the table and have you share what you do in just one sentence. Melody, perhaps you can start.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Titian. And thank you for everyone who's joining us in this Power Hour session. I'm honored to be the panelist in this session and sharing and discussing the insights with all of you. So my name is Melody. I'm based out of Beijing, China. So I'm currently working in a US company called Akamai, who is the world the most distributed cloud provider, making billions of people, billions of time better a day. So that's as Titian said, I'm the growth marketing head for Greater China region. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Melody. Ronak, over to you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. And also, thank you for joining us today. My name is Ronak, and I'm the CMO for 361, which is the largest wealth and asset management company in the country. Over to you,
Thank you.
Titin.
Daniel.
Yeah. Thank you, Titin. So, good morning, everyone. Happy to be here. So, my name is Daniel Brastio, and I'm the head of PR and also corporate communications, part of the marketing team in Cultiva. So, Cultiva is basically an integrated technology company specializing in end-to-end traceability supply chain. So, we have like lots of experience in and also mission to drive positive impact in global supply chains while ensuring sustainable growth for smallholder producers or farmers. Over to you, Titin.
Brilliant, brilliant. Thanks a lot for that. Maybe we just start with the top level question first. What brought you guys into this field of marketing and corp comms? How do you end up here? Anyone who
Okay,
wants to take the first lead?
I'll go first.
Go on, Ronak.
Yes, sure. No, so I come from a family managed business background, been part of the family managed business for several years, and then I kind of chose to kind of move into the field of sales and marketing. Coming from a inherent family business background, sales and marketing was kind of inbuilt
Part of you.
inside the blood, right, as they say. So I think I've been there, done that, and I think it was more a natural calling for me, at least, to kind of look at sales and marketing, where marketing kind of had special place in my heart and
Mm,
attracted me more towards the the possibilities that we as marketeers can kind of build and put it out in the marketplace, right? As opposed to sales, which is a very transactional kind of an approach, right? And I think that kind of attracted me along with the ability to apply art and science to my day-to-day activity, right? So there's enough of data that kind of plays a huge role, but also creativity on the other hand, right? And then that kind of allowed and then excited me to be, to become a marketer. So that's my
Nice,
take.
nice. What about you, Daniel? Because you've worked in a few industries actually in
Yeah,
Jakarta.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So actually, I think growing up, I love connecting with people. You know that making connections and then learn about behavior that brought me into like loving studying consumers' behavior, something like that. And then after that, because you know that corporate communications is quite like relevant with marketing, because in marketing you use like all those that you know about corporate communications into marketing, so it's kind of relevant and also similar like. And then it's always about the roles that very close to corporate communications or marketing, and that brought me here. And then after few roles in different industry, I think it's also uh, gave me some perspective on how to approach better person and even market something with a different approach, and that has brought a lots of perspective that has brought me, of course, here, and also using my expertise to help the companies in achieving its goal and also its business growth. I think it's about that.
Sure, sure. What about you, Melody? What got you here?
Okay, so that's so my story is I used to be a engineer. I'm a programmer
Oh, okay.
because my college my bachelor major is double E, so I just entered into the tech market from the engineer perspective and experience, and then after that after a few years I feel that I won't be a very good programmer. So then I like to interact with the people and
Mm,
you know to more engage from the business perspective. Then I had my MBA study,
hmm.
so I studied the business strategy. Sorry,
Okay.
is
Yeah.
that
Yeah. I mean, what's interesting is that the common vein amongst all of you is people, right? I mean, it's
Yes.
that's what attracted you to marketing. So I think when we talk about people, we talk about culture. I guess it leads me to the first question that I have on localization. And how do you think cultural differences actually influence your strategy in your respective markets? How much does it
uh,
impact?
is it a
Yeah,
question to me?
Melody. Yeah, go ahead.
I think okay. So yes. So I think the culture wise is I think a culture understanding culturalization. I think is I take it as the foundation of the marketing. No matter from the communication and demand generation as well as the user experience and the engagement, because that's how. So culture to me to the business in my mind is the way is appropriate way to engage, interact with people. So if you don't know the rule, then it's just like you drive the car without knowing the, the without knowing what color is the traffic light. It's something like this.
Mm,
It's very risky.
mm,
It's very risky
mm,
and led to the failure in most of time.
mm,
So I think it's an essential component, but definitely it's more than that. But that's the foundation in my mind.
mm, mm. What are your thoughts on
Yeah,
that, Ronak or Daniel?
yeah.
Sure. Yeah, Daniel, go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, I agree with Melody that culture is part of the main strategy, because that's how we build relevancies with our audience, right? Because let's say take example for example in Indonesia, we have like a collectivist culture where we kind of making decision based on like in groups or whether within families, something like that. So creating campaigns that is relevant with them. For example, we have like Islamic holidays, something like Ramadan, something like that. And then we have campaign uh, creating some kind of connections with the Ramadan, and then approaching the families that are celebrating. And that's how we can create emotional connection with them. And that in the end will kind of influence their buying decisions on our products. So that's one of the key strategy for us in terms of like approaching people from.
Yeah, Ronak, you had something to add to that.
Sure. No, absolutely agree with both Melody and Daniel, right? See, localization is all about making one's product, service, or content feel like it was specifically created for that local audience, right? I think that's very critical, right? People should be able to have affinity towards that product and service that is being offered. It's just not about translating or translation of language, right? So say from English to Hindi to Malay to whatever, Chinese, essentially. It's not about just translation of words, but it's more about capturing the essence of the culture and its nuances, right? Which is locally applicable, right? And it involves adapting everything, right? Using cultural references. There could be sensitivities across cultural references, right? So in fact, in kind of looking at that itself, to even in certain cases, we've also seen global brands tweaking the product itself to better fit the local tastes and usage habits, right? So, and it's something that we've seen across, right? Coca-Cola does it very frequently and beautifully, right? To represent their bottles and cans to a lot of local cultural nuances, right? And at the end of the day, I think everything said and done, all translations, tweaking, etc. At the end of the day, it should feel, in my mind, it should create an experience that feels authentic and relevant, right? Because otherwise, you come across as dubious, and which today's audience is very, very sharp and smart to understand that, and then not buy into your product or service.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I mean, when we talk about culture, right, because there is also, it's a spectrum, isn't it? I mean, what do you consider to be relevant in marketing? And what is a nice to have? What cultural aspects would you consider to be, or cultural factors would you consider to be relevant in marketing? Beyond language. I mean, we talked about language. We talked about perhaps, religion, perhaps. But is there anything
Yeah.
else that you think? Because
Okay.
it's there's so many different aspects when you talk about localizing here.
Sure. Okay, so let me take a dig at this, right? And let's look at India as an example. And okay, and probably a slightly longer monologue from my side, but see, in India we have humongous diversity, right? And lot of and lot many cultural nuances from north to south and east to west, right? So let's take a closer look at India, right? With 1.3 billion people population, right? We have our own cultural and linguistic nuances, right? Like we said, right? Like for example, we have 22 official languages recognized in the country, right? Mere translation also means that you have to have 22 translations if you are going across the length and breadth of the country, right? And English is only spoken by about 8 to 10% of the population, right? So that's very, but at the same time, 65% of India's population is below the age of 35, right? Which also essentially means that this youthful demographic is largely tech savvy. They are actually digital natives, right? And when I say talk about digital natives, the smartphone penetration in the country is close to 700 million users, right? Which is huge, right? So for example, if basis this statistics itself, if anybody was looking at penetrating into India, right, would probably want to have a mobile first strategy, right? Given the length and breadth of adoption of digital and tech in the country, right? Also, from a digital financial literacy perspective, we are probably the fastest growing and the leading globally. The number of UPI stroke fintech platforms that are there on which transactions are happening on a daily basis runs in billions. right? Including rural India.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And in fact, colleague, in fact, how I would look at it is India is actually three Indias today, not one India, right? The one is the urban India, which is your Mumbai's, Delhi's, the metro cities. The second is the upcoming regions of the country. Third is the rural India, right? Where essentially you have a lot of backward class, but they are tech savvy. They all use smartphones. They are using technology to kind of do their daily activities and chores, right? So again, so that's a cultural nuance that people may want to look and think and build before they kind of come in, right? So a mobile first strategy, for example,
Yep. Yep.
kind of transcends the geography. I don't know if that adds value.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean that's interesting because when we talk about localization, I mean what you're saying is it's more than culture. It's not just, your cultural practice, it's also actually what are the behaviors of the
Correct.
local market, right? Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm sure Daniel and Melody, you would yourself say, your own market's also very diverse. And that's something right. So how do you actually cope with that?
Yeah, so in Indonesia's case, let's say we have like maybe hundreds of ethnic groups here, right? So we have also more than 7,000 islands, which is out of that 11,000 is habitable, and then we have like more than thousands of languages here in Indonesia. So it's also uh, that kind of facts, and also in terms of that brings also like a diversity here in Indonesia. So what works maybe in Sumatra maybe cannot work in Borneo or in Java. Even Java, we have like Javanese, we have Sundanese, and we have other groups as well, right? So that's why it's important to kind of doing a research to know better about the culture, about their behavior, of course, and maybe understanding better about their what what they feel they are relatable to. Sometimes, if you know that in Indonesia, emotional things is very is working like
Yep.
effectively works best when you do campaign with the emotional approach, because that narrative works best here. Stories about local heroes, about personal resilience, because in Indonesia, the working age group are quite big, huge here, and then uh, we need to create maybe in banking industry. Let's say they kind of promoting financial security, yes, but they're also positioning themselves as an institution that will assist people in achieving their goals in the future, about saving, so it's uh, about that nuances, about the relation with the local heroes, personal resilience, and also maybe community impact that will resonate well with them. So issues around like family, education, and also work best when we kind of do a specific approach to that kind of demographic here in Indonesia.
So I think what you're saying is that it's more the storytelling narrative.
Yeah,
That is the kind of localization that you tend to focus on.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. What about you, Melody?
Yeah, I think I totally agree with Ronald and Daniel's opinions. And as very similarly, I mean, Greater China. So my territory actually is Greater China. That it consists of mainland China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan. So we also have three different languages when doing business as well. So language is just one part. So the other thing I'm thinking about is all from the people oriented or customer oriented. So you already talked about the behavior and some of customers psychology is coped with the behavior, but also we have to be mindful about the religious custom
Sentiments.
and the local law regulation. You know, like like different, for example, different country we have different PII regulation, etc. As well as the communication channel. For example, China, especially mainland China, we are social. I would say, mobile and social is just our life for every day. So people hanging on the social apps for the quite a long time per day. So that's why for any brand, in order to have the connection with your audience, with your customer partners, you have to have the choose the right channel and with the resonating content messaging, and to make a good user experience for them. Yeah, through all the marketing tactics. So
Yeah,
I guess
yeah,
it's quite multiple factors
yeah,
in
yeah.
culture.
Do you guys have like a case study that you can share where you found that okay, and you did something and that was something that compared to a more generic marketing campaign that you did, and you saw that there was a difference? Because I mean, I remember that we did one for a client before, and it was just a simple. It was for Facebook. It was just a simple translating it from English to Vietnamese. So just a local language translation, and also the images were more, we showed Vietnamese people, and that just showed such a huge difference. We were able to reduce the cost per engagement by I think by more than I think it was 10% of the original cost. It had delivered such a great results. Do you have case studies or examples where you have done similar work before that has shown real results for you? If anyone wants to take that up.
Yeah, maybe I go first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I just follow my previous statement about the social marketing. So I probably pick the social marketing example. You know, actually, like I mentioned, China is a social culture country, and we have a various digital apps, including the social apps, in our country. However, the difficulty or the challenges, our dominant social apps are different than the global ones. So people in our country don't use, WhatsApp, don't use normally don't use the, Facebook and IG, etc., etc. We use, we use other, very similar type of Chinese version of those social apps. So one
Mm-hmm.
of the dominant one for business is WeChat. Okay, so we marketing team, we started our official kind of a company WeChat operation or account like in 2015. It's almost 10 years ago. So back to then, this decision is made by me, by the by the local team, and so because of course it's a very unique platform. Our global team definitely doesn't have a lot of expert or knowledge about that. So then it's a very it's a so it, this is a decision, or this is an operating model. It's led by the local. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so the operating model is with the local agency, crafting the not just the including the visuals, the contents, the way of everything is just to fit in the local social style.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so over this many years, okay, of course we have we have I think it's almost 20, probably, yeah, almost 20,000 of followers, because considering we are doing the selective and the selective segmentation of our audience. So it's I think it's also a good number to show the influence. So I think over the many years operation, it's already proven to be it plays like a mini website role in our country. So probably audience will engage us, will know us from our WeChat first, then in some cases then our website, because it's different. It's a more local friendly, right? So in every aspect. So I think so I think that it's a proven to be our critical vehicle to promote and connect our brand with our local customers and partners and the employees as well. And so that's a very typical example, oriented, the whole thing's oriented from the local,
Yeah.
you know ground up.
Yeah, yeah. And how using the chat that's WeChat, which is actually very native to China, has actually been useful and engaging, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Ronak or Daniel? Do you have any case studies that you can share?
Sure. So while there are no specific case studies of adaptation to national or read between regions, I think
Mm,
localization for us has also worked in different ways, right? So for
mm,
example, we've looked at localized investment products, right? We found one region to be very equity focused or specific cities and states in the country, right, are very equity focused as far as their investments are concerned, right? So how do we kind of to make inroads in that city, in that state? We've moved forward by using equity based products, which the people are more willing to look at, listen, and invest, as opposed to a larger asset class or a wealth management kind of an approach, right? And once they've invested using those products, they've come in touch with us. It's allowed us to leverage a platform better thereon, by telling that, okay, you've invested in these products, now why don't we look at a larger wealth management strategy for you? And we found clients far more receptive that way, as opposed to
mm,
going directly with a wealth management conversation. Also another example that I can give you is why we are a India focused organization, right? We also have global offices, right? And also and thus herein also kind of looks at saying non-resident Indians, right? They are not Indians, but they still have a very soft corner for India as their homeland, right, as their motherland. So we've also carved products which NRIs can look at investing back in the country, which has also kind of worked very well for us and very worked well for the NRI diaspora in kind of getting access to them, right, in order to kind of attract them and believe that how they can invest back in their country or ride the India growth story. And so
yep.
these are the kind of
Yeah.
localization approaches that kind of has helped
Sure.
us
Yep.
between cities and states within the country itself, and as well as looking at individuals who are Indians but in two different countries.
Yeah. So Melody has talked about channel customization. You're talking about product customization, right? What about you, Daniel? Is there anything else that you'd like to
Yeah,
add?
yeah. Maybe a specific use case or case study. I don't
Mm,
have it, but I can also provide some kind of examples here. So what
sure.
we had to in Cultify is we have like a product, right? Product app, something like that. But the users are not only from Indonesia, because we're actually Cultify is operating worldwide in 61 countries. So
Mm,
to cater to the needs of our users, of course, we can maybe we can start with translation first in the app, right?
mm,
In Vietnam, we use Vietnam language, Viet language, and then in Thailand, we use Thai language,
mm,
and then in Indonesia, Indonesian, and the other English, or even in LATAM, we can cater to their needs on the specific language, something like that.
mm,
So
mm,
that's how we cater to the needs of the clients, and also facilitate the needs of the smallholders, producers involved in the supply chain, right? So
mm, mm,
and even beyond the translations itself, we have like a boots on the ground services. So we have like field agents, whether our field agent or clients field agents that we facilitate with our technology. So working with people who knows the nuances in that specific regions, or even in the specific area, knowing about their culture, it's also important, so that we can learn from them and they have the right approach to approach the
Yep.
persons that we work with. So that's kind of what we do here in Cultiva. But in my previous company, of course, I can also that that a well-defined framework in terms of like brand, that my previous FMCG company is have this building a cleaner, healthier world tagline, and it's
Mm,
always revolves around health and hygiene, something like that. But when you go
mm,
deeper into specific countries such as Indonesia, uh, we work with certain approach that is working in Indonesia, but not necessarily working in, maybe let's say, Thailand, because that maybe in
mm,
Indonesia we approach with maybe the last Ramadan to Ramadans ago, we used like a campaign that
mm,
use the religious approach. You know what I mean? That
mm,
we work with most council in Indonesia, and then we campaign the wash your hands before ablution things, so that
mm,
it's better with the people in Indonesia. But that kind of campaign do not will not necessarily work in Thailand or even in Malaysia. So
yep.
that kind of approach, that beyond
Yep.
translation, that we did in certain countries.
Yeah. Well, I
Maybe
think
that's
that the challenge that I'm sure that a lot of people are facing is also finite budgets, right? So when we talk about wanting to customize and localize, sometimes where do you hold yourself back? Because I mean, if we have an infinite budget, we can do so much, like marketing to one, right? So how do you balance that?
Yeah, I think depends on the project, right, Titin? So so I think if we're given like a limited budget, we can always start with our platform, like a customization in our website first. Maybe we can
Mm,
start with several language options there, right? So after that, our product team can customize the product to fit better with the country specifics, like Thailand.
mm,
I mentioned
mm,
Thailand, or even
mm,
Indonesia, and also other countries as well. So
mm.
that's how we start everything. But if we given like a more budget, then we can strategize even more, right? So that's
Yeah.
kind of first, and then we can always that connect with relevant stakeholders that could maximize our return in terms of doing the campaign. But that's also like I don't know, maybe like a collaborating with people who have the same, or stakeholders who have the same vision. That's the start that we're trying to do if we have like a limited budget instead of finite budget, as you said, as you
Mm,
mentioned,
mm, mm,
like that.
mm. So you start with language first. That's what you do. That's what you spend your money on.
Yes, because according to our, you say, our research, let's say, so like we have so many potential clients, and those clients from different countries, right? So what we would try to maximize is how we can better communicate with them, and they can like how we can generate leads from our platform. So that's important,
Mm,
because sometimes if we
mm,
know the people in Latam, they are very focused on, they're easily approachable when we speak in Spanish or Portuguese, something like that. So
mm,
so that's kind of bringing bigger impact,
mm,
uh,
mm.
if you if you will, like that's what we will maximize, so that they can come to us.
Yep. Yep. Melody or Ronak, is it something that you would do? I mean, given a finite budget, is that something that you would focus on first? Focus on languages, or
Okay, so yes, so we cannot always do everything for sure. So it's always to have to prioritize
mm,
things. Even regards to the localization is the same. So I think I will take the one step back for before we make a decision on which specific tactics or decision on the localization part. But back to the local GTM first. So to understand, because from what we want to achieve, we will it's relatively easy for us to understand, the the marketing strategy or prioritization thing. That's
Mm.
one. So for my case, for example, I have to I have to. So in most of the cases, so we start with simplify Chinese first. We'll probably just give up the traditional Chinese at the early stage, especially when we just establishing something. We cannot, do multiple languages. We just we want to make sure one thing success, and then if we can replicate the success to other region or other languages or other platforms, that'd be good. So yeah, so just a step by step, and also with a lot of evaluation and tracking. So we
Mm.
always have to be, aware that what the good is look like
Mm.
when you make
Mm.
choice. And you when you do something, choose to do something, you must have a measurement. you know
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
so that whether you keep investing or draw back the money to the other part. So of course there's a lot of A/B tests, a lot of try, and a lot of failure
Mm.
in the middle. But that's
Yeah.
the way we.
So I guess it brings me to my next question, which is what role does data and audience insights play actually in your planning?
uh,
Sure.
It can
I'm
it can
Go
be
ahead,
taken up
continuing.
Melody.
by
Go ahead, Melody. Go ahead.
No, no,
yeah.
no. You go ahead. I saw this
Okay.
question to you.
No, no, I sure. So Titan, so data and insights, right? From I think today, in today's day and age, the backbone of for any CMO and any marketing strategy, right? Gone are the days where we could do carpet bombing of our campaigns, and if we would actually funnel in some leads and conversions, right? Today it's all about, and like Melody, how Melody said in her earlier point, right? It's all about impact, right? If you're not measuring impact and outcomes, right, the budgets will only stifle further, right? So I think that's very critical. How people are using data and insight is of course different in every industry.
Mm-hmm.
For us, it's all about because and then I work in two very distinctly different industries: wealth management and asset management. Wealth management is very niche, very sharp, because I'm only dealing with ultra high net worth individuals who've got about $30 million of investable surplus. And on the other side, I'm dealing with asset management, which is a very mass retail category, right? So my
Mm.
strategies on both is very different. So my CAC on the wealth management is super high, right? Right. It runs in a few lakh rupees per person, right? So that's wherein data and insights kind of come into play as to saying what is the digital footprint of the potential client or my client that he's looking at, right? How can I capture their digital footprint? How can I capture their moments of truth in every content piece that they are kind of looking, right, to kind of maybe upsell, cross sell, right? Uh, why is certain content piece not working, and do I need to translate that to a localized nuance or a cultural nuance, right, which then has will have far more effectiveness as compared to a generic uh, comms that is being put out in the marketplace, right? So a lot of data and intelligence allows us to kind of maneuver these challenges beautifully, right? It throws back a lot of information on which a lot of decision taking and uh, kind of building out uh, every comms piece that we're kind of putting out, or every CTA that we're looking at kind of gathering, right? So I think
Yeah.
in that sense, it's extremely critical today to observe every move of the customer, and again, we also at the same time run the risk of GDPR or data privacy, right? So we have to kind of balance out the two very, very um, closely.
Are there specific metrics or KPIs that you measure, Ronak?
Sure. So for example, we definitely look at saying, we have a very solid content marketing strategy, right? Because content and thought leadership is one which we find extremely useful, and it helps in both ways. It allows us to put our expertise forward. It also makes the consumer look intelligent because they are looking at a content and then they're talking in their circles of influence, right? So I think it's a dual win-win situation. So we measure that deployment very closely. In fact, we are putting a lot of data analytics and MarTech platforms around our content and thought leadership as we kind of move forward from here on, to kind of measure their to measure their digital footprint and our share of voice as well.
Mm, mm, mm. Okay, okay. What about you, Daniel?
Yeah. So agree fully with Ronak in terms of the KPIs. I think from our side, from our end, I think yeah, of course we have to like know the engagement rates, and also conversion. But more than that, we also like beyond the traditional measurement, of course, community impact, brand sentiment, loyalty
Mm,
us more telling in terms of in the long term, right? So where the trust is paramount here, sustained engagement and also repeat customer are key indicators of success, right? Because you know that the informed decision making that we get from this data that we have, it helps the management and also the company to act fast to improve our operation, make us efficient. So that's why in terms of KPI, we have to study them all and also make improvement
Yeah.
based on that. Yeah. So
mm,
beyond digital metric such as CTR's impressions, the tangible impact, we also measure that, like the maybe the smallholders adoption on our technology, something like that, because you know that's something we look on also, that we try to, of course, always improve the adoption of our technology.
sure, sure, sure. Do you have anything to add on that, Melody, in terms of your KPIs and metrics that you're tracking?
Okay, yeah. So I think my KPI, because as a field marketer, um, we actually drive, you know, the from the top of funnel to the bottom of the funnel till the close or the purchase um, stage. So that means to say, along the customer journey, uh, of course, we are using different tactics, or we are running different things along the journey. But the good thing is, in my role, we definitely can see the close, the end-to-end close from the business,
Mm,
result perspective. So then,
mm,
my KPI, primary KPI, will closely align with the contribution to the overall sale,
sure.
and backwards, the qualified opportunity, the leads, and the impression, the awareness part, and the other leadership. I mean the eyeball viewership part. Backwards, all the have all the metrics, but
Mm.
it's end to me.
Okay, great. So we are also open for questions for all of you. I think for LinkedIn, I think we're having some technical issues on LinkedIn, but for those of you who are listening in on Facebook and IG, but we do have the team monitoring LinkedIn also. So for all of you who are listening in, do share your questions here. Although some of you have shared questions on Google Forms, and I've woven in some of the questions in here. I think the first question that we have from those who've registered is, how do you keep your messaging consistent if you are localizing across regions and languages? Is there anyone who wants to take that up first?
Yeah, so maybe I go first. So usually as a company we have like a well-defined framework of the brand, like you have like brand guidelines, but we have to be flexible enough for the localizing team. You know that in certain countries that we can do like we are flexible enough to do some localization based on cultural norms, religious norms, but the global messaging will keep intact. We should keep it intact, but we should be flexible enough to adopt it in other regions or other specific countries. So that's why that is usually the role of the marketing communications or corporate communications in terms of like a judging or giving advices on how to best approach, how to best use the communications in certain area, and that's how they hold the important role in terms of communications here. So that's why that we have to complement each other, like the between the global messaging and also the local messaging. It has to complement each other, and then we have to keep the main message intact while we're flexible enough to disseminate communication based on the regions that we're operating in. I think
So
that's
there
from
needs to
me.
be a guardian. That is pretty much right.
Yeah, we need a guardian, of course.
We have some questions coming in still, and let's address that first before we move on. Then the first question that we have is keeping localization in mind. What is your first step in approaching any new campaign? So, what's the first thing that you do? Is there someone who wants to take that up?
Sure, I'll give a couple of very quick points,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think the first and foremost is looking at consumer behavior and preferences of that region, right? I think that's very important. How do they engage? How do they buy? How do they interact with local products and services? And also how do they, and then like how Daniel said earlier, right? What are the comms nuances, right, which apply to that community in that region? I think that's very important. I think second factor would be looking at local competition. Right? Is there a
Mm,
similar product service available in the marketplace? How have successful have they been? Right? What are the numbers that they are doing, etc. That gives us a very interesting benchmark, right? Of saying that
mm,
how successful, or at least what is the potential of the marketplace. And I think that's very important before. And is it worth for me to enter into that territory, or should we, apply some other methods, right? I think that's. And third, probably, is there any legal or regulatory compliance requirements, right? Because I think today, as the world's progressing, regulatory compliance is becoming more and more stringent, right? So, is there any specific requirements applying to my industry or to my product which needs to be kept in mind so that when we launch, we are not facing negative publicity, right? Because and then once a brand is tainted, it takes so much more, right, to
mm,
get back on track. And in fact, I don't think brands ever come back to their original glory. So these are the three
mm.
points that I would look for.
Especially in the social media age, isn't it? When it's very easy to go viral.
Especially, man.
Yeah, we have to be careful.
Yes, yes. Social
Yeah.
media, social media is a very harsh place these days,
Yeah.
right? Where
Mm,
people,
mm,
consumers don't give any leeway to any brand or product. So we have
yeah.
to be
Yeah.
all the more careful. I would, certain times maybe think 10 times before going live, right? If there are regional or local
Yep.
nuances that
Yep.
kind of play have
Yeah.
are
Yep.
at play.
Yep. 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 Anything else that you guys want to add to that, Melody or Daniel? First step in approaching a new campaign.
Yeah, I think Ronak has mentioned all of the things that we
Okay.
usually do, like research. Of course, that's the main thing, right? Because
Mm,
consumer behavior, custom values, that's how we keep being relevant with the different regions, right? And also,
yeah.
yeah, that's it.
No, no, no. Great. One of the first things that I like to do is to actually, when I go into a new market, is to read the local paper, find out what interests everyone in that country, right? The next question that we have is success stories of penetrating a market that was hard to get into through localization. Does anyone have a success story to share?
Yeah, I think maybe I don't know. In Cultiva, we're trying to do a pilot project of using a different approach. As I mentioned that in Latam they prefer Spanish and also Portuguese, some countries. So we're doing a different approach here. We use webinar to gain more leads, something like that. But
Mm-hmm.
in my previous experience, of course, it's always about the of course about if you say when I was in FMCG, you know that the company had a toilet cleaning product, right? So in certain markets it's different situations, but in Indonesia at some points it's quite different. Maybe it's similar in India as well, where we had like several cases of open defecations. So what we do is kind of highlighting that behavior, and also kind of make them aware, or same with the behavior, so that they kind of touch and then they want to move through better habits. So that's how we do the campaign.
Oh,
So,
what were the yeah, sorry, go ahead, Ronak.
yeah,
Yeah.
no. So, while not a specific example from within India,
Mm-hmm.
when we were moving into Dubai, we did
Mm-hmm.
find, or we did face a small challenge where Dubai as a country looks at Sharia law of investment, and our products were not really Sharia law compliant in that sense, and then that was a revelation for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think very quickly we kind of understood the local nuance, right? The consumer behavior aspect that you just spoke about earlier, right? To kind of figure out saying what kind of products or services would be amiable to the local population, right? From an investment point of view, and then kind of approach the market from that perspective. So so yeah, so that was kind of we invested in an office, in people, etc., and then this was a realization, right? So that was
Yep.
a little setback for us very
Yep.
initial days, but then we kind of came back
being
better.
being flexible, being flexible,
Yes,
and that help. Okay, and I think that rise to the earlier point that you've mentioned. Being able to adapt quickly to
correct.
the market is quite important, and being aware of the local regulations,
That's right.
right? We have an AI question. It's bound to happen. How do you think the AI helps or hinder localization efforts? Do you think it can help to create authentic content, or with AI, are we losing that personal touch? Melody, do you want to
Okay.
take that up?
Yeah, sure. So, but by the way, TTN, can you see my video stack, or
Yeah,
is
you've
again?
It's
frozen, but we
pausing.
can hear you.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
clearly.
Okay, good. Okay, sorry about that. Okay. So I think that's a very interesting topic. Okay, I have to say. So AI is everywhere. Is the hottest topic in the entire world. So from marketing, as a marketer, I believe in the AI marketing
Mm,
will be the future. Yeah, I mean, it's will be coupled with. However, I think AI to me in marketing is a more like a way or technology to lift the productivity.
mm,
And
mm,
I think we definitely will leverage. Um, I don't think that will fully replace the personalization. So we still
mm,
need. So I think the question whoever asked, I think that's a very good one. I think we still need a lot of personalization. So that's
mm,
the elements will make our brand, ourselves, our messaging, all the things outstanding or differentiated from others, from the standard. However, we will leverage AI to do the scale. So in different scenarios. So I think we can, the two part, personalization can cope with the AI marketing, in my mind.
Yep. Yep. Ronak or Daniel, do you want to add to that? AI in your marketing.
Sure. See, I think AI is the buzzword, like how Melody said, right? It's the hottest topic and the hottest conversation these days, right? And then both positive and negative. A lot of people are thinking AI will take their jobs away, but I think as a marketer, I think I've used AI um, progressively for aiding what I'm doing. But I think fundamentally, if you look at AI, right, I think nothing has changed from the day we invented computers, which is essentially input is equal to output. And with AI, that remains true, right? It's the prompts that you give, you will receive the output accordingly, right? So input is equal to output. I think that fundamental objective of the fundamental approach to computers, to technology hasn't changed, right? Can AI be used to create authentic, culturally relevant content? The answer is both yes and no. We all know that AI today is still doing a lot of learning, right? So I'm not sure if I would entirely rely on the output and just kind of copy paste it on my campaign. The answer is no, right? Of course, I can always take help of AI, aid of AI to at least share with me a working content, which then, of course, a human intervention is absolutely necessary, right? Local conversations are very critical to produce something which is local content, right? Because I don't think if you've not visited the area or the city or the state, you've not interacted with local people, you've not understand the cultural nuances, you've not spoken to shopkeepers or office or etc. Depending again on your product, service, industry, etc. If you've not had those local conversations, you will never be able to build authentic content. You will maybe able to build a culturally relevant content.
Yep.
That's my
Yep.
take.
Yep. 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 Daniel, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I fully agree on that. I mean, we should the AI is something that we should monitor. We have to keep the I mean, we have to follow about how far it can help us, how far it can get better. You know that it will eventually can help us better, because if we
Yep.
rely fully on AI at the moment, I agree with Ronak.
It's
We
still early
cannot.
days.
Yeah, because sometimes yeah, you know, the output is as only as good as the prompt, or the output is only as good as the brief, as we say in creative or communication. So that
Yes.
sometimes even they have like they gives us a wrong answer, or that's why we have to keep the skeptical approach when asking for help
Yep.
from AI, but agree with Melody that it helps improve our productivity, or they can help us with research, but to fully rely on them at the moment, I won't suggest that.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot. I mean, I appreciate all your input. And, thank you, Melody, Ronak, and Daniel, for, sharing your insights into your respective markets, and for addressing the questions that, the participants that has raised. And I hope, all of you found it to be useful. And I hope to see you all at more such events and perhaps in person soon. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for having
Thank
me,
you.
Titin. Thank you, Ronak, and also Melody.
Okay. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Daniel. Thanks, Melody. Thanks, Nitin, for having us here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you next time.
See you.